Version 1, close-up of a small object with a shallow depth of field. The aperture is set at 11, the shutter speed is 30, and the ISO is set at 800. Alright. Version 1, close-up of a small object with a deep depth of field. We are doing aperture 11, ISO at 800, and shutter speed at 30. Alright. Version 1, mid shot of a person sitting on a bench. The aperture is 11, the ISO 800, and the shutter speed is 30. Alright, panning shot take 2. This is aperture 11, ISO 800, shutter speed 30. Yay! Tilting shot take 2. Aperture set at 11, ISO 800, shutter speed 30. Tracking shot version 1, ISO is 800, shutter speed is 30, aperture is set at 11.
Okay, a close-up of a small object with a shallow depth of field. We have shutter set at 180, aperture at 5.6, and IOS at 800. Okay, a close-up of a small object with a deep depth of field with a shutter set at 180, aperture at 5.6, and an ISO at 800. Okay, a mid shot of a person sitting on a bench, shutter set at 180, aperture at 5.6, and ISO at 800. Okay. A panning shot that follows action, shutter set at 180, aperture at 5.6, and ISO at 800. A tilting shot, shutter set at 180, aperture at 5.6, and ISO at 800. Oops.
Tracking shot version 2, ISO 800, shutter speed is 80, aperture is 5.6. Version 3, close-up of a small object with shallow depth. The ISO is 100, shutter speed 30, and aperture 5.6. Version 3, close-up of a small object with deep depth of field. The ISO is 100, shutter speed 30, and aperture is 5.6. Alright, version 3, mid shot of a person sitting on a bench, ISO 100, aperture 5.6, and shutter speed is 30. Panning shot version 3, ISO 100, aperture 5.6, shutter speed is 30. Yay! Tilting shot version 3, ISO is 100, shutter speed is 30, aperture is 5.6. Tracking shot version 3, ISO 100, shutter speed 30, aperture 5.6.
That's it.
Yeah. Alright, version 1 of a close-up on a small object with shallow depth of field. Shutter speed is 30, aperture is 5.6, ISO is 400. Version 1 of close-up of a small object with a deep depth of field. Aperture is 5.6, shutter speed is 30, and ISO is 400. Take 2 of version 1, mid shot of a person in the shade. ISO is 400, aperture is 5.6, and shutter speed is 30.
Version 1, a mid shot of a person sitting in the sun, exposed for the person. Aperture set at 5.6, shutter at 30, ISO 400.
Okay. Panning shot, version 1, ISO is 400, aperture is 5.6, shutter speed is 30. Woohoo! After it says that. Version 1 of tilt shot, ISO is 400, aperture is 5.6, shutter speed is 30. Alright, tracking shot version 1, ISO set to 200, aperture set at 5.6, and shutter speed is 30. Yeah. Version 2 of close-up, ISO is 100, aperture is 4.5, and shutter speed is 30. Version 2 of close-up on small object with deep depth of field, ISO is 100, aperture is 4.5, shutter speed is 30. Version 2 of mid-shot person in the shade, ISO is 100, aperture is 4.5, shutter speed is 30. Bam.
Version 2, a mid shot of a person sitting in the sun, exposed for the person. Shutter set at 130, aperture at 6.3, and ISO at 100.
Alright, version 2 of panning shot, ISO is 100, aperture is 4.5, shutter speed is 30. Version 2 of tilt shot, ISO is 100, aperture is 4.5, and shutter speed is 30. Version 2 for real this time, ISO set at 200, aperture set at 8.0, and shutter speed set at 30. Tracking shot, version 2. Perfect. Version 3 of close-up on a small object with shallow depth. ISO is 400, aperture is 10, shutter speed is 60. Version 3 of close-up on small object with with a deep depth of field. ISO is 400, shutter speed is 60, aperture is 10. Version 3 of mid-shot person sitting in the shade. ISO is 400, shutter speed is 60, aperture is 10.
Version 3, a mid shot of a person sitting in the sun, exposed for the person. ISO set at 400, aperture at 6.3, and shutter at 60.
Version 3 of panning shot, ISO is 400, shutter speed is 60, and aperture is 10. Version 3 of tilt shot, ISO is 400, aperture is 10, shutter speed is 60. Tracking shot version 3, ISO at 400, aperture at 5.6, and shutter speed at 50.